I never imagined I'd become the personal enemy of a homeowners association president. But life has a sense of humor. My name is Jonathan Reed, and I moved into Cedar Ridge Estates 3 years ago after a nasty car accident left me with partial mobility in my right leg. I use a specialized van, a cane on bad days, and some city accommodations to make daily life manageable. Cedar Ridge seemed perfect when I bought my house: quiet streets, well-kept yards, and, most importantly, a driveway big enough for my van's ramp. For a while, everything was peaceful. Then I applied for a disabled parking space directly in front of my home. It was city-approved in a heartbeat. What I didn't know was that installing that simple blue sign would light a fire in Brenda Foster, known in whispers throughout the neighborhood as the self-appointed HOA tyrant. Some called her Queen Brenda behind her back. I learned the hard way that the crown fit her perfectly, at least in her mind. The city workers came on a calm Tuesday and bolted my new disabled parking sign right at the curb. It felt like a small victory, a tangible piece of independence. By Wednesday afternoon, though, something felt off. Through my blinds, I spotted my sign leaning sideways like a broken flower stem. Confused, I checked my doorbell camera's saved clips. I couldn't believe my eyes. There she was, Brenda Foster, in her trademark pastel cardigan and spotless white capris, stalking right up to my sign with a pair of oversized garden shears. She struggled with the thick metal pole but managed to slice halfway through. She even wiped sweat from her brow with this smug, self-satisfied grin, then strutted away. I confronted her the polite way first, a calm email. "Hi, Brenda. I noticed my disabled parking sign was damaged. I'm sure you have no idea how that happened, but per city ordinance, I'll be repairing it. Here are links to the relevant disability statutes if you'd like to review them. Best, Jonathan." Her reply was immediate and dripping with condescension. "That sign violates HOA aesthetic standards. The board never approved that eyesore. Remove it immediately or you'll face a daily fine of $50. I calmly reminded her that federal and city disability laws override HOA rules. Her next reply? A single line. "Not in Cedar Ridge, it doesn't." The next morning, I woke up to the sound of metal clanking on concrete. I hobbled outside and found my sign completely severed, pole and all, lying face down like roadkill. My cameras caught it crystal clear. Brenda, at 5:30 a.m., wearing a neon jogging suit, using what looked like an electric saw. Before leaving, she turned and stared straight at my camera and winked. Enough was enough. Arguing politely was worthless. What Brenda didn't know was that I'm an attorney by profession, property law is my bread and butter, and HOA statutes are practically my bedtime stories. I called my friend at Cedar Falls City Planning and explained what was happening. She sighed heavily. "Jonathan, she's done this before. We'll reinstall it tomorrow, no charge. And I'm flagging your address in our system for extra documentation." I thanked her and got to work on my real plan. I didn't just want the sign back. I wanted Brenda's reign to end. On Friday, the city crew came back out, reinstalled the sign, and even dug the pole deeper than usual. This time, I went full Hollywood. I adjusted my doorbell cam, added 2 more motion sensors along the sidewalk, and, with help from my next-door neighbor Diane, another frequent Brenda victim, hid a tiny motion-triggered camera inside a decorative birdhouse. Saturday, dawn still breaking, my phone pinged. Live feed, Brenda again. This time in sleek running gear, cordless reciprocating saw in hand, jaw clenched like a villain in a bad soap opera. I called the police's non-emergency line the night before, just in case. Now I dialed 911. "Yes, hi? She's back. She's cutting my disabled parking sign, again. I have live video." The dispatcher was calm but clearly stunned. "Officers are en route. Stay inside if you can." 2 patrol cars pulled up just as Brenda finished her final cut. Her saw slipped from her hand in surprise. She tried to hide it behind her back like a guilty toddler. One officer, Officer Ramirez, asked flatly, "Ma'am, what are you doing?" Brenda didn't blink. "Routine HOA inspection. This sign is unauthorized. I'm enforcing community guidelines." I stepped outside, phone in hand, showing Ramirez my permit, emails, security clips, and city approval. Ramirez looked from my documents to Brenda's tight, trembling smile. "Ma'am, HOA rules do not override city disability ordinances, and they definitely don't authorize vandalism." She puffed up. "Do you know who I am? My cousin is on the city council. This is harassment." Ramirez just handed her a ticket for vandalism on the spot. Brenda looked ready to swallow her clipboard whole. I figured the citation might slow her down. I underestimated her ego. That very afternoon, every resident in Cedar Ridge Estates got a President's Emergency Bulletin in their email. It accused me of faking my disability for preferential parking, attached blurry photos of me carrying groceries, and claimed my sign was ruining neighborhood charm. I read it twice, hands shaking, then called my doctor, the city's disability office, and my friend Rachel, who specializes in civil rights cases. Within 48 hours, I filed for an emergency restraining order and an injunction against Brenda and the HOA board. 2 weeks later, we faced off in the Broward County District Court. Brenda wore a sharp navy blazer, hair perfectly sprayed into place, flanked by a rattled HOA lawyer. I wore a gray suit, no tie, just my cane, a calm expression, and a flash drive loaded with footage, emails, city permits, and my medical documentation. Judge Morales, a no-nonsense powerhouse with a reputation for dealing swiftly with HOA drama, presided. Brenda's lawyer rambled about neighborhood harmony, visual standards, and the HOA's sacred duty to protect property values. When my turn came, I stood, plugged in my drive, and hit play. Clip 1. Brenda, hacking at the pole with garden shears, glancing around like a cartoon burglar. Clip 2. Brenda, dawn sky behind her, grinning at my camera after slicing through the pole with an electric saw. Clip 3. Brenda, wielding the reciprocating saw, caught red-handed, and her priceless face when police arrive. Next, I displayed her email to residents, blowing up the line, Mr. Reed's so-called disability is questionable at best for the judge to read. When it ended, silence blanketed the room. Judge Morales removed her glasses, eyes fixed on Brenda. Miss Foster, she said, voice calm but edged in steel, are you aware that tampering with a legally recognized disability accommodation is a civil rights violation? And that publicly questioning a documented disability borders on defamation? Brenda's lips quivered. Her lawyer started to protest. Judge Morales raised a palm. Enough, she continued, each word a hammer strike. This court grants the restraining order immediately. Miss Foster, you will remain at least 50 feet from Mr. Reed's property at all times. A clerk handed Brenda the order on the spot. She didn't even reach for it. She just stared at her shoes. I am also fining you $5,000 for violating Mr. Reed's civil rights and referring this for possible criminal charges for repeated vandalism of city property. She paused, letting it sink in. And finally, I order your immediate resignation as president of the Cedar Ridge Estates HOA. You have demonstrated a fundamental misunderstanding of your authority and a disturbing pattern of targeted harassment. Brenda found her voice shrill with disbelief. You can't do that. The HOA bylaws. Judge Morales didn't even flinch. The law outranks your HOA bylaws, Miss Foster. If you disrupt my courtroom again, you will be escorted out in handcuffs. We were dismissed. Outside, I glimpsed Brenda, alone by the elevators, reading the court order on her phone, her mouth moving silently like she was arguing with reality itself. For the first time since moving into Cedar Ridge, the Queen had no crown and no subjects left to bully. The city has since repainted my curb spot, twice as bright, with new reflectors. Neighbors I barely knew knocked on my door with cookies, murmuring apologies for staying quiet so long. Last week, the HOA board, freshly purged of Brenda's cronies, voted unanimously to revise our neighborhood rules. Any city-approved disability accommodations are automatically exempt from HOA visual objections. Yesterday, I took my first pain-free walk to my van in months. My neighbor Diane waved from her porch. A small group of kids rode scooters past my curb, and one called, Mr. Reed, cool sign. I smiled, cane tapping against the sidewalk, and thought about how sometimes the best way to stand up to a bully is to let the law do the talking, and your cameras do the remembering. Brenda Foster learned the hard way. Neighborhood rules might give you power, but real laws make you accountable. And in Cedar Ridge Estates, the real rules won.